Hi, I'm John Orlando. Today I'm going to talk about how to create webcam recordings that will be interesting and exciting to your students and your colleagues. And that was your first lesson. How was that for a recording? Did that look good? Of course not. It was boring. It was slow. And the one unforgivable sin when it comes to videos is being boring. Unfortunately, there's a natural tendency to slow down and drain all the emotion out of our face when we're in front of a camera. I mean, there's only a few people who can be network broadcasters, and that's for a reason. But whatever you're talking about is hopefully of interest to you, whether it's your own biography or the class. So express that interest to your students. Overexpress it. Be expressive in your facial expressions, and that will convey to your students. That's your first lesson. And we're going to take a look at a few more tips on how to create webcam recordings for your class or your students. What does it look like I'm doing right now? Well, it looks like I'm talking to your chest. Unfortunately, this is common when people make webcam recordings. They put their notes on the monitor and they talk to the monitor, which makes it appear to the viewer that they're talking to your chest. And nobody likes it when we talk to our chest. It makes us uncomfortable. Your webcam is up there. Talk to your webcam. Your notes are just going to have to be in your head. You're going to have to reshoot if you can't remember what you say. But always talk to your webcam. And that's the second most important thing to remember when you make a webcam recording. The third thing to look at is lighting. Now, you have to worry about two things with a webcam, sound and lighting. Luckily, sound is not too tricky. The microphones on webcam are pretty good nowadays, and they produce pretty good sound. But lighting is always a lot more tricky. One, you want to avoid combining artificial and natural light. Now I have a window next to me and I've shut the shades to prevent the natural light from coming in because it will overwhelm the artificial light and create a real strong shadow on the other side of my face. I've also put a couple of artificial lights behind the camera, and you always want to have them behind the camera, not behind you, because that'll create a shadow on your face. You almost can't have too much lighting. If you ever go to a movie studio or a television studio, you'll notice they're really cold. And that's because they have so much light on the actors. The actors will start sweating, so they need to make it really cold to compensate. So you almost can't have too much lighting. Now, what we have right now is not perfect. I realize I have some shadows, but I think it's good enough for our purposes. But just keep that in mind. Do put as much lighting as you can pretty much take. Another thing to think about is where you're going to shoot. Now, many people look around the room here and say that I have far too much stuff in the background. That's distracting. And I wouldn't totally disagree. Certainly, if this was a movie studio, I wouldn't have anything behind me. I think it's not too much of a problem to me to be shooting in an office, since you kind of expect me to be in an office if I'm a teacher. Do avoid shooting outside where people are going like this to you or something like that. But in general, you probably want to limit to some extent the amount of clutter behind you, especially stuff that's deep, say outside where people are looking at cars going by and things like that. If you just have, say, a wall behind you with a few things, it's probably not too bad of a problem. But do consider that as well. With that in mind, you have a few tips to start your webcam recordings, and give them a shot.